First and foremost, I want to thank you all for spending a few moments with us this evening. This is actually my first Homebuyer webinar that I'm actually hosting, so it'll be the first of many. So I'm really excited that you guys are kind of the guinea pigs. So hopefully everything will go well this evening, and this will be something that I will continue to do on a regular basis. So I am Delisia Inge. I am with Berkshire Hathaway, Fox and Roach, and I'm also your Delaware Realtor. And I, again, want to thank you so much for joining us this evening. So tonight, just to give you kind of a rundown of what we will discuss, I will give you just a kind of a brief overview of what my role is as your realtor, and basically just how I do business with my clients. And you'll also hear from J.R. Burns, who is our mortgage consultant, and he's with Trident Mortgage. And he will basically go through the mortgage process and what it will take for you to qualify for a mortgage loan. Bill Salamone is from Delaware State Housing Authority, and Delaware has lots of programs to help first-time home buyers, even second and third-time home buyers as well. So he'll discuss those programs and talk about what you'll need to qualify for those, and just how home ownership can be more affordable for you. And then we have Jenna Stayton, and Jenna Stayton Esquire, let me not disrespect. she is our closing attorney.
We're credited too, Jenna.
Yes, Jenna is great. And she's helped me in my last few settlements, actually. Both she and JR have been instrumental in helping a few of my previous clients get their keys to their first or second home. Actually, my last couple were first-time home buyers, and I have one Thursday, and they'll be first-time home buyers. And JR and Jenna are helping me with that settlement as well. So Jenna will kind of go through, the closing process, what it all entails, and why it's required, why we're required to have a closing attorney in Delaware. So that'll be our rundown, and I actually have, I should have been sharing my little PowerPoint thing, but let me find this one.
I know it's there.
All right, there we go. Can you all see my screen?
Oh, wow, yes. That's so beautiful.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect, Delisia.
Yeah.
All right. So the purpose this evening is to help to prepare you, the future homeowner, to purchase a home, and hopefully we can provide useful information for you to assist you in that process from beginning to end. There are a lot of steps in the process. It can be frustrating. It can be, it can be a nuisance, but that's what I'm here for. JR and Bill and Jenna, we're all here to help you through that process from beginning to end. I kind of went through the list of speakers for this evening. And so now I will talk to you about what it is that I do as your realtor. So the first thing I want to do is debunk a myth that I hear, or people ask me the question all the time, well, how much does it cost? How much do you charge to help me find a house? And so that answer is zero. I don't charge you anything to help you find a house. And if a realtor does charge you to help you find a house, then I'd find a new realtor. But what we do ask is that you will sign, and actually it's not an ask, it's really required for all our clients to sign a buyer agency agreement. And the buyer agency agreement basically gives me the confidence that you are going to work with me as your realtor exclusively. You can terminate it at any time. I would just ask that you would give me a heads up and let me know, hey, I found somebody else. I don't want to work with you anymore, you know, this isn't working out, whatever the case may be, I will know to move on. Because again, I don't get paid, or I don't get anything unless I'm 100% successful with you. So that is my goal through the entire process as I represent you, is to make sure that both you and I are successful in that process. So by signing the buyer agency agreement, that basically says that we're working together, I'm working for you, and you are not working with any other realtors on the side. Okay? And there's also another form called a consumer information sheet. And this form is also required by the state of Delaware. And it's basically like a HIPAA form for realtors. So it ensures you that any information that we discuss is going to be confidential. And I'm required to keep that confidentiality forever. So basically, I cannot discuss any of your information with any other buyers, any sellers, or any other person for that matter. Okay, so I will represent you and only you. So those are the two forms that, as a buyer, you are required to sign in order for me to do business with you and you to do business with me. Okay, so fair, right? All right. So the next thing is representation. So my role is to represent you throughout the entire process. So that's even before you're pre-approved. And JR will go into what it takes to be pre-approved. But even before you're pre-approved, you know, I can help you to find a qualified lender such as JR to help you get the pre-approval that you need. We cannot start looking at homes until you have a pre-approval. So that's the absolute first thing in the process, is for you to get that pre-approval. So it's really important that that you do that, that we get that part done. The other thing that I want to do is to help to reduce your stress during the process. So as I mentioned, it is a stressful process. It's up there with, you know, having a baby, getting married, you know, the most stressful things you will do in your life. And so to help reduce that stress. Now, I didn't say I would completely eliminate it. People just have that, you know, they just need to be involved and they want to, you know, get it done. But I'm here to make sure that, you know, we get through the steps of the process and with as little complication and, you know, stress as possible. So once you have been pre-approved, then we can start to refine your home search. So now you know basically how much house you're looking for. You know what your limit is, what your budget is. So now that we know that, we can start looking at homes that are within your budget. And so I will set you up on a home search, an electronic home search. So you will get emails daily with homes that meet your needs. So we will have discussions on, you know, what you want in your house. What's a must have? What's a need to have? What's a, I can do without it, but it would be nice to have it, you know. So we can talk through all of those things and then start looking for homes that meet all of those needs. And then think about things like, how long do you plan to be in the house? Do you want to rent the house once you move to your next house? You know, those kind of things and discussions we also will have as part of our buyer realtor discussions. And in the electronic searches, I did put in the chat box a link to HomeSnap. Now, HomeSnap is probably the best home search tool for you to use during this process. I'm going to ask, if you will, to stay off of Zillow. You know, Realtor.com.
Why? What's wrong with Zillow?
Because I have found have sent me houses and they're like, oh, what about this one? It's in foreclosure. Well, I go and I look in the MLS and that house has been off the market for 6 months. So Zillow doesn't always update their information the way that they should. But HomeSnap updates every 12 hours. So you're getting accurate information. You can actually drive by the house, take a picture of it. It'll show up on the, in the app, and you can find out, about that house, how much it sold for, how many bedrooms it has, does it have a basement, whatever you want to find out about the house. So I did put the link in the chat box, so you can copy that, write it down. And even before you're pre-approved, it doesn't hurt. You can window shop for houses on HomeSnap and just kind of see what's out in the market and what's out there. Okay. So we do that. We set you up on a search. And then from there, as you find houses and as we, start to see things that may interest you, I would recommend that you drive by the property. So go see what the neighborhood looks like. Go, check out the neighbors, or, is there a train track next door? All of those type of things to see if that's the type of community that you want to live in. Because the house may be picture perfect, but it may not be the neighborhood that you're quite looking for. So in order to not waste a whole lot of time, just go drive by it and decide if that's, where you want to live, where you want to raise your family, where you want to be for the next 30 years. So once you have we found a home, we've gone and, looked at it and done all the showings and all of that. And now you're ready. You found one that you love. So now it's time to put an offer in on the house. So I will help you to determine what a good offer is. We are now in what is called a seller's market. And that basically means that there are not a lot of houses on the market. Not a lot of people are selling their homes right now, but there are a lot of people trying to buy houses. What ends up happening is a house goes for sale, 5, 6, 7, 8 people want to buy that house. And so now we're in a multiple offer situation. And generally, the house will go for more than the asking price. So there are some negotiation techniques that you as a buyer may not know that you have the freedom or, or that you're able to do, that I as a realtor can say, hey, well, here are some things that we can do to make sure that we are better than all the other offers that are on the table. So that's really where the skill set of the realtor comes in. So helping to negotiate and structure the deal to make sure that you get the home that you desire. Okay, so once your offer is accepted, then it is my role to make sure that we stay on task. So now that the contract is signed, there are certain dates that we have to make sure that we meet. We have to make sure that the inspections are done and that, all of the things that need to be done are done within the terms of the agreement. So that's where I will make sure that, we stay on task. And then you may get to a point where once you sign the contract, you have what's called buyer's remorse. You're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have gotten that one. Maybe I should have, waited and gotten the one. And so there comes the stress. Then here I come with my, my nice little tactics to kind of talk you back off the ledge. So we've seen that happen as well. So now, that all of that's done, my main goal is to get you to the settlement table. So, and in a timely fashion. And actually the settlement that I have this week, we actually pushed it up because we were able, JR was so great. He was able to, make everything happen with the mortgage so that we can push the settlement up a week and allow the whole
JR
to get in their home a week earlier. So, so those are the types of things that I do as your realtor. And it may sound simple, it may be like, oh, that ain't really nothing, but trust me, It is something, and the process is usually, I mean, we can look for houses for months. We can put in 5, 6, 7 offers that get denied. So it's not a process that you can expect to happen in, in 30 days, 45 days. We could, but it's unlikely that that'll happen. But typically, it takes some time that you want to get, and to get all of the things in order to make sure that you get to the settlement table and get the keys to your new home. So that's my job. And are there any questions? I'm not on that yet.
Delisia, I see some questions in the chat box.
Okay.
Hi. My name is Deanna. Thanks for hosting this tonight. I have a question about the seller's market. So I understand that in a seller's market, many people are seeking potentially the same house. So doesn't that drive up the likelihood that we would pay more? And how does one know when it would be I guess the opposite kind of market?
Right. So, and so one of the things JR, I'm sure we'll address tonight is the interest rates and the cost of money right now. So that's why a lot of buyers are in the market now because money is cheap. Interest rates are at historic lows. And so it's, even though the houses are costing more, your mortgage payments are less.
Yes.
Because your interest rate is so low. So even though it is a seller's market, it's also kind of a buyer's market, just based on the, where we are with the mortgage market, if you will. And JR will talk more about.
No, it's a great question, and I get asked that a lot. Most people are thinking in their mind, well, if prices are up right now, do I just sit off on the sideline and wait for them to come back down? But ultimately, when that does happen, typically on the flip side, in my market, on the mortgage side, rates end up going up. So the cost of that money goes up. Yes, prices may fall. I think from what I'm seeing from an economic standpoint, in the market, is you're seeing a change in consumer behavior. And I think you're seeing two types of consumers. You're seeing a consumer that's, living in their house and they're saying, you know what, this house is great. I'm now working out of it more than I ever have. You got people who went to work from 9 to 5 and, they were never home. Well, now you have them, a lot of them working from home, and they're saying either they love their house or they don't like their house, and they're thinking about moving up, or they're thinking about doing a rehab project on it to make it that special place that they can both live and work. So certainly interesting times. Yes, you could sit off on the sidelines. However, I think you end up costing yourself more in the long run just because of the cost of money.
Yeah, I mean, and I can kind of jump in on that a little bit too, to piggyback off JR, and the importance of having a realtor involved is that, Delisia is going to be the person crafting your offer. Sure, lots of people interested in the same homes, and that's just how it is right now. But, if you have somebody experienced and professional, kind of making sure that your offer is on top of the pile, with the way that the offer is written, that is in your extreme benefit. And so, a lot of people will say, well, I don't need a realtor, I can figure this out. Like, no, it is so important to have somebody on your team that can that knows the market and is willing to kind of put the work in with you to craft your offer to make it most appealing to a seller. So while, there are people that are kind of getting really, like, it's a seller's market, I don't really want to jump in, I don't want to be disappointed. Sure, there are so many people that have realtors that put one offer in and get their offer accepted because of the way that offer is written. And I know that everyone's going to talk about this process, but it's so important what kind of market it is or not to have a team of professionals. So that's kind of my
good point. Very good point, Jenna. I agree 100%.
Really good question.
Yeah, very good. All right, JR, you want to jump in and?
Yeah. I don't know if you want to throw the slides up or not. I don't necessarily need them. I can talk through a lot of this stuff if you want. It's completely up to you. Do you have them?
Yep, I do. I have them. I do
You,
have them.
you can do it. You can do it. I know you can.
While she's
There you
pulling them
go.
up.
There we go.
I mean, we kind of threw some slides together here, but let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I work for Trident Mortgage. Trident Mortgage is actually owned by Berkshire Hathaway. So, you know, we tend to lend a lot to the clients that work with Berkshire Hathaway agents. You know, so I'm very familiar with a lot of the agents in the offices. I actually cover 2 offices. Delisia's in the Hockessin office. I work in another office as well, in Northern Wilmington. So, you know, got a lot of experience. I got to tell you, I work with, you know, 9 out of 10 clients of mine are first-time home buyers. I got to tell you that, you know, I really do enjoy working with them. I know it's a very stressful process as you're approaching this and you're thinking about, you know, the prospect of owning a home. I assure you that we work as a team. You know, there's 3 of us here. We kind of work all together to make sure we coordinate this and make sure it goes off without a hitch. Let's see, how do I advance these slides?
Oh, I think I have 2 for you. There you go.
Yeah, you can bump it to the next one.
Okay, this one.
Let's go to the next. Yeah, so, you know, the word pre-approval, we threw that word out there a lot, you know, getting pre-approved prior to going out looking at houses. What is a pre-approval? It's a letter. I mean, it's literally, you know, it's a document that's on a piece of paper that says you're basically finance ready. You know, pre-approval is going to allow, you know, you're going to pick up the phone, hopefully after this conversation that we have tonight. You're either going to shoot me an email or give me a call tomorrow. And, you know, we could spend about 10 minutes on the phone and I'm going to collect some information from you. I want to learn a little bit about you, where you've been working, where you've been living, how much you have in savings, you know, how much income you're bringing in, how long you've been employed, those sort of questions. And, you know, what we're going to get down to is we're going to do a credit inquiry on you. We're going to see where you are from a credit standpoint. And then we're going to ultimately see what programs are out there to assist you. One of the major programs that we're talking about tonight, and Bill Salamone is from Delaware State Housing Authority. You know, these programs are out there to assist you. So we're trying to qualify for those folks that, you know, maybe don't have a large down payment saved, but, you know, the other prospects look good in terms of credit, in terms of income, and, you know, it gets us to a point where we can qualify using these programs. But yeah, basically pre-approval letter, you know, that's what that is, you know, after we get through all those steps. And again, a lot of people, some people just aren't ready, and I get it. You know, we're going to have a conversation and maybe the credit's not quite where it needs to be. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to work with you on getting your credit to a point where it needs to be to get pre-approved. I've done it, you know, I do it weekly with clients. So if we hit a roadblock, it's not a permanent roadblock. We'll certainly get over it and we'll go through it together. Let's go through a couple scenarios. Let's go through the next one. So there's a big myth out there that, you know, when you're buying your first house, you're going to need to have 20% down. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. And the answer is no, you do not need to have 20% down. Think about that. And think about how many first-time home buyers have that kind of money sitting around in their savings account. I can tell you, not many. So these programs are here to assist you. They give you the funds, and I'm not going to go into great detail because I don't want to, you know, go into Bill's slides, but I broke it down here and I said, look, if we go and we take out, you know, we buy a house for $185,000, okay? We go to Delaware State Housing Authority to get 4% down payment assistance. And what I mean by that is they're going to give us the funds that we need to cover the down payment, a portion of the closing costs. And then, of course, we ask the seller to pitch in some money to cover the difference for closing costs. Your payment would be about $1,205 a month, okay? And your out-of-pocket cost with, you know, an $8,000 seller credit from the seller would be, you know, you're talking less than $500 out of pocket. So when Delisia is saying, I can get you into a house with little or no money out of pocket, this is how we're doing it.
Yep.
Then you have the other scenario. Maybe you do have some funds set aside. Maybe you've already owned a home before and you're looking to make your second purchase, and you know, you sold a house, you have some money and savings from the sale of that house, and you have the money to put down 20%. Well, in that case, you know, your payment would be $844 a month. So yes, there is a difference in payment by putting down the 20%, but you know, the out-of-pocket cost, as you can see, would be about almost $38,000. How many first-time home buyers do you know that have $38,000 sitting around? I can say very few. So those are kind of two scenarios to let you know that, hey, you don't need 20% down. Yes, there will be private mortgage insurance, okay, as part of that payment. But that's just to ensure the investors that buy these mortgages against default. So, you know, you put down 20%, you avoid it. If you don't have that kind of money in savings, then you have no choice but to pay the PMI. Go to the next slide. This kind of, she kind of hit on this. We used to use this slide deck for both the realtor side and the mortgage side, but I'll leave it at that. So, you know, again, we're looking at a few things. We're looking at, you know, your employment history. We're looking at your, you know, savings, how much you have in savings. We're looking at your credit scores. And again, if the credit score is not there, it tends to be a hurdle for some folks. We are here to help and guide you and get you through that. You know, we have different agencies that can help with credit repair. And, you know, I've helped probably hundreds of people get their credit to a point where they're ready to buy. Does anybody have any questions for me before I pass it to Bill?
I did see a question or two in the chat box, JR.
All right, let's see here.
About seller's assistance.
It's a great question. So the question was, you know, how is seller's assistance basically going to play with this seller's market? Yeah, so my advice here is to, you know, again, and for folks that have a little bit of savings, it's going to help you in these predicaments. If there's a new listing coming on and, you know, you think you're going to be able to get in below the asking price, or you're going to be able to ask for seller's assistance, I'm going to tell you, it's not going to happen in this market because, like Delisia said, you're going to be up against several offers, and many of which will be either maybe conventional financing versus FHA financing or no seller's assistance. So the idea is to use Delaware State Housing Authority to get as much in funds from them so we can reduce the, you know, use of seller's assistance on the offer side.
I just have a quick question about a short sale. So how much does that hurt a person when they're trying to buy a second home? You know, my situation is that I've already owned a home and I don't anymore. But anyway, I just sort of have felt like, well, I guess home ownership is never a possibility for me again. So is there an amount of time that needs to pass, or what does that look like for people in my position?
So the house that you did have, you had a short sale?
Yes.
Is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. So you would have a 2-year waiting period on that. I think, well, actually, if we go FHA, it's going to be a 3-year waiting period. How long has it been since the short sale?
Months.
Months?
So not long. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you're looking at a 3-year waiting period. And what type of financing was used in that short sale? Was it FHA or conventional?
FHA.
Okay. So you're going to want to make sure that the clock starts ticking on that when that FHA mortgage, when they satisfy that debt and the government guarantee, the clock starts ticking. What can happen is the short sale can take place and they don't do the paperwork they're supposed to be doing, and months could go by. And in your mind, you're using the sale date, and then, you know, you got this date on your calendar 3 years from that sale date that you're ready to go. And I can tell you that sometimes it trips people up. So you might want to look into that.
Understood. Thank you.
Yep. But you will not have any issues, I assure you, getting financing once that 3-year season period goes by. There was another question about student loans. I just saw it here.
Yeah.
Are there any mortgage? All right. So a couple of questions here. So, are there any mortgage programs that offer 0 PMI? So yes, there are. And PMI comes in, private mortgage insurance comes in different forms. If we're using FHA financing, we're going to be stuck with it as of, you know, right now it's for the life of the loan. There's no way of buying it out. You have to refinance out of that product. If you have a conventional product that you're in, let's say you have a 680 or higher FICO, that's pretty much when I start putting people into conventional, is when they cross over that 680 FICO mark. We can look at different things. We can do what's called upfront mortgage insurance, where we pay it all up front and avoid paying it monthly. Or we can do lender paid mortgage insurance, which is where you maybe take a higher interest rate and I, as the lender, pay for that mortgage insurance premium up front for you. So there's lots of different ways to get creative with that. So yeah, there are ways to avoid it without putting down 20%. The other question related to student loans and deferment. Yes. I got to tell you, this is what trips up a lot of people. And
I know all about it.
Yeah.
All about it. I got PMI, it's great.
Yeah. I got to tell you about the student loans. The student loans being deferred tend to trip up a lot of people because, yes, right now you're not paying on it, therefore you're not recognizing a payment on it. But when you go to get financing for a mortgage, it's deferred. And if you're going to be going into an FHA product, we got to take 1% of the balance and use that payment as part of your debt to income, which is what they're saying there, what John's saying there on DTI. What we can look at doing, and this is another way we, help this, is I always tell the client, that's right, it's deferred, the payment's zero right now. If we can go conventional and you can get into an income-based repayment plan, I can use that income-based repayment plan payment amount for qualification purposes, and I won't have to use 1% of the balance. If I'm stuck going FHA, then I tell the client, I say, hey, call the student loan servicer, ask them what the 25-year repayment plan is, and if we can get that, we can use that as the payment versus 1%, and it tends to be about half the cost, and it can help with qualification. So lots of little tricks. We see these things every day, and we kind of navigate them as we see them.
I'm sorry, I got a quick question. Did you just say with the income-based repayment plan for student loans, is that just, you can't do that with FHA, it's just conventional?
It's just conventional.
Okay.
Yep. And conventional, we can use that payment. If it's zero on the credit report, I can use that as qualification. So I won't count any of that debt against you going conventional.
Okay.
Joseph, can you repeat what you said about the 25-year loan?
Yep.
Student
So
loan?
what FHA's qualifications say is, you either have to count 1% of the balance or a fully amortizing payment.
Yeah.
And I think the farthest you can go on these, if I'm not mistaken, is 25 years out.
I think you're right.
So when you take that 25-year repayment plan, it tends to be a lot less than taking 1% of the loan balance. Another tool that I like to use to help offset that student loan debt is the Delaware State Housing Authority tax credit.
Tax credit.
It's $166 a month in income I can count towards your debt to income. So it's offsetting some of the student loans. It's another trick you can use. So let's see.
Did you address the question about it says, what if you're spending over $1,000 in rent, but your approval letter says you qualify for less? How can you improve?
What if you're spending over $1,000 in rent, but your approval letter says you qualify for less? How to improve this? So, yeah, landlords look at things differently than we do in terms of qualifying different clients for rentals. We look at debt to income. If we're going conventional, total debt to income, would be no more than 50% of your gross income. So, that's what we're looking at. And FHA has different standards. Now, if we're going to be using Delaware State Housing Authority, 9 times out of 10, they won't let you go above 45. So, and that's post-COVID world that we're dealing with some different rules. But, again, me having a conversation with you, looking at your finances, I can make sure we navigate all of these little
Really
pieces that we're
important.
talking about tonight.
Really important.
I'm really not expecting you guys to all remember these guidelines. That's really where my expertise comes in. But I'm here to tell you at a high level the things that we're looking at. And I know these are the things that are on consumers' minds when they're going to apply for a mortgage because they're nervous. I mean, I know 9 out of 10 times I talk to a client, they say, "Are you going to pull my credit?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm going to pull your credit." And immediately they're like, "Oh, that means my score is going to drop like 20 points." And I'm like, no, it's not going to drop 20 points. Yes, it's going to drop a few points. But at some point, if you're really serious about buying a home, we have to see the report in that fashion. And if your credit's not where it needs to be, trust me, I will get you there. We do this every single day. So we'll rip the Band-Aid off together, and I assure you it will be an experience, and it will be well worth it once you get the keys in your hand at the table with Jenna Esquire over there.
My gosh.
JR, do you want to mention your double check program?
Yes. And every client that has a conversation with me, Delisia mentioned I have a double check program. What that is, if you're out shopping for a mortgage and you want to get a second opinion by me giving you a quote, in those scenarios, if you've already, if you were up at midnight last night, you were on Quicken Loans thinking you were going to get a pre-approval letter and you want to get a second look, have another lender, you have 30 days from that first credit pull. So think about that. If you were on, Quicken's website or another lender's website last night and they pulled your credit, you actually have 30 days to shop without your credit being impacted. I know a lot of people get nervous with that, but I would give you a $100 gift card. If you already knew your scores, I could actually give you a scenario and pricing based on that score. So you can see what it looks like for yourself and see how it stacks up against the other lenders. I will tell you, using a local lender in this environment, especially with a seasoned professional on the pre-approval letter, goes a long way. Because think about this, if you're going up against 6 or 7 other offers and you got 6 offers from non-local banks, non-local lenders, and you got 1 local lender that they trust and they see their name all the time.
Big difference.
They're going to go with the local guy. They just will, because in this environment, nobody wants to be tripped up with a mortgage company or lender that's not going to be able to close on time or deliver as they said in their letter.
And JR, if I could just add to that too, we have an approval process for lenders such as yourself. So many of these out-of-state internet lenders are not able to qualify as an approved lender and offer the programs that we have.
Yep. And that's absolutely right. I mean, these programs that Bill is going to talk about, you will not be able to get with any of those online lenders. They're just not signed up. There's a question about down payment assistance. We're going to get to that. Bill's going to go over those programs. And as far as the income-based repayment plans, you just need to be enrolled in it and have a letter from the servicer, and we can use that as qualification purposes.
How does the current situation with student loans, as far as the program they put in place for COVID, how does that affect the debt to income ratio currently?
Yeah, it's going to be treated just like a deferred loan. I see that a lot. Yeah, they have the COVID marks on the credit, and we're just going to, if we're going FHA, we're going to go, with what's 1% of the balance that's there, and we're going to count that as far as your debt to income.
Hey, Joseph, another question for you. I had put in the chat box asking if the professionals could share their contact info. Could we have a way to reach you, please?
Yep, certainly. I'll type it out right now. Thank you. Good question. Yeah, so there's a recent graduate program still available in Delaware. Bill, that's on hold right now, correct? Still?
Correct, on hold.
So John, is it, you said to do the income basis repayment plan, or is it income sensitive, which one is the right one to do?
IBR, so income-based repayment plan, they call it.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. And that would be if we're going to go conventional.
Okay.
All right, Bill, you want to go into it?
Yeah, I'm ready. Delisia, you going to share the screen or do you have control?
I can share I can do your slides if you want.
Yes, if you can, go right ahead. Yep.
Okay. Can you see them? Is that it?
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. Okay, hold on.
I got to tell you, that was one of the most productive Q&As that we've had.
Yes, it was. I agree.
Questions.
Good questions. And we welcome more through the chat box. Excellent. There you go. Yep, you got my first page there, Delisia. Yep, I got you all good to go. I just want to take a moment. Again, my name is Bill Salamone. I'm with the Delaware State Housing Authority. I'm going to take a few moments to explain how the Housing Authority works with the mortgage lenders such as JR and Trident Mortgage to make home ownership more affordable. We are committed to follow all the aspects of the Fair Housing Act because this promotes responsible home ownership. But more importantly, we want to give you competitive and safe financing. I will say this before we go to the next slide. We've talked a lot about the experience of the people that you're speaking with. There's a lot of information here that's presented already to you. I have more information to present. It's important that you understand you can't remember it all. As JR said, you need to work with a team. JR didn't start in the business yesterday. Jenna Stayton did not start in the business yesterday. You can look at me and tell me I didn't start in the business yesterday. Delisia didn't start yesterday. Bottom line is, this is not the junior varsity team, people. This is the pro, the A team on your side. Let them do the job. Let them get you through the programs, whether it be Delaware State Housing Authority, credit issues, income issues, student loan issues. Let the team work for you. I hate to use the word, but let the process work for you. Next slide, please. Now, a lot of what I'm going to show you on these slides, please don't try and memorize it. I'm going to give you a website, and I'll put it on the chat box, but I'll say it a number of times. www.kissyourlandlordgoodbye.com. www.kissyourlandlordgoodbye.com. Everything that I'm telling you now is on the website. The income charts that we're going to talk about is on the website. The maximum selling price is on the website. All right. Everything that I'm going to say is on the website, so you don't have to try and memorize this or copy this. What we do real simple is offer the Preferred Plus program. Preferred Plus is our down payment assistance. It is available to both first-time home buyers and repeat home buyers. Very important. This program is for first-time and repeat home buyers. If you are out of state, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, and you're looking to move into Delaware, this program is also available if you qualify. Now, how does it work? Very simple. Many people we find have a reasonable level of credit scores. They have a reasonable level of income. What they don't have is a tremendous amount of money for down payment and closing costs. This is where we step in. Delaware State Housing, in conjunction with the mortgage lender, will advance you anywhere from 2, 3, 4, as much as 5% of the final loan amount. That money is advanced as a loan. It's not a grant. Very important. It is a loan. However, a couple things. There are no fees associated with the program. It is 0% interest. There's no prepayment penalty, nor is there any immediate payment due. Most people will find they repay the money that they borrowed from Delaware State, either when they sell the home or if they refinance. However, if they continue to pay the primary mortgage for 30 years and they've paid it off, at the end of 30 years, you need to pay the money back to Delaware State. But again, we're advancing that money at 0%, no fees, no prepayment penalty. What will happen is that JR will sit down with you, look at your situation. because the amount of money that you get advanced will have an effect on the interest rate on the purchase loan. So for those of you that do not use any of the assistance, you will get the lowest interest rate. For those of you that look at the 2, 3, 4, or 5% rate, you'll see the interest on the mortgage, the purchase mortgage, is proportionally higher. Again, as part of the pre-approval, JR will review that with you. Next slide, please. Here is the maximum income limits. These are not minimums. These are the maximum. If you make more than this, you're not eligible for our program. This is decided by the IRS and the federal government. So you'll see we break it down by county, by size of family. Again, see the website, www.kisherlandlordgoodbye.com. Everything I'm showing you is there. The maximum loan amount on all the counties, $417,000. Again, these are maximum figures. Next slide, please. All right, we're going to talk about the mortgage. Back up one slide if you could, I think, Delisia. There you go. Yeah, we have that. Now the next slide. There you go, the credit certificate. As I said, our programs are available for both first-time and repeat buyers. However, the mortgage credit certificate, first-time home buyer, JR made mention of this about qualifying. As a first-time home buyer, there are slightly lower income limits, but if you meet those limits and you are a first-time buyer, from the IRS, you can get an annual tax credit up to $2,000 every year. Each and every year you live in your new home, you're going to get a credit up to $2,000. It can be less but not greater, directly from the IRS off of any IRS monies that you owe. JR can use that $2,000 to help improve your debt ratio to offset student loans, credit card debt, automobile debt. You'll pay a one-time fee of $350, one-time fee to qualify for the tax credit. It is the best deal going for the average taxpayer. I'm not aware of any other better program. Next, please. The income limits are a little bit lower for the tax credit. If you'll take note, Newcastle County, 1 to 2 people, maximum household income, $96,600. Again, these are maximum, and I'm going to speak about household income because that's a little bit different than what JR uses to qualify for the loan. Please take note that the purchase price limits are a little bit lower than the $417,000 limit. So again, if you are a first-time home buyer and your income and purchase price meets these limits, for a one-time fee of $350, you will be able to access up to $2,000 each and every year you file your taxes. Again, I cannot stress that this is the best deal going to the average consumer. Any questions so far in the chat box on this, or anybody have any questions for me, what we've gone over so far? I know it's a lot of information, but again, remember this information is on the website. Delisia, if you go next slide, please.
Okay, so there was a question asking about when it can be paid back. I think on the previous slide that you were talking about, Dustin, you had a question.
Or when it can be paid back?
Time during the 30 years.
Yes.
The preferred plus loan.
At any time an individual wishes, they can begin paying regular payments on the money they've borrowed, Delaware State. They can make the payments once every 6 months, once a year. But if you do not make any payments on the original money you borrowed, and so many years down the road you sell the home or you refinance to a new mortgage company, that's when we get paid off, just like any other second mortgage company gets paid off. Just like a home equity line or a home improvement line. If, on the other hand, you stay in the mortgage for 30 years, at the end of 30 years, you need to pay payments to pay back Delaware State. So it is a loan, but at 0% with no specific repayment penalty. Therefore, JR does not have to include the money you borrow from Delaware State as part of your debt ratio. It is not included. Very, very important to understand. We are trying to advance the money to make it easier for you to buy the home, but we do not want to increase your debt ratio nor do we want to make it any more difficult. I will say this, I would advise anyone that qualifies for the tax credit, if you know you have the tax credit against the income that you owe, you may want to use some of that money to pay back Delaware State Housing Authority your money borrowed. Once a year, take some of your federal tax credit money to pay back Delaware State. You're using the federal government money to pay back the state of Delaware. Does it get any better than that? Now, I see a question about home improvements. The loan, JR, I may need you to step in on this. That's a different type of loan program, a rehab loan, correct, JR?
That's correct. So there's, yeah, you get the 203K loan, which is an FHA loan where you can take, a certain amount of money and use it for rehab projects. There's also a conventional version of that as well, but none of these are associated with the Delaware State Housing Authority, which means you would have to come up with those down payment monies on your own and not rely on the housing agency to help you.
Yeah, that program wouldn't work in that regard. Next slide, please.
Hey, Bill.
Yes.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Maybe about 5 slides back, when you were talking about down payment assistance, there was a table that showed, I guess, the maximum amount of money that can be made in the household. And I think it said 3+ people, $144,900.
That is correct. In Newcastle County, 3 or more in the household, you cannot make more than $144,900. Less is okay, but not more.
Okay. And so that counts all earners or just the person who owns the home?
Very important, that's a good question. I will get to that in a slide, but I'll answer that now. When you work with JR and debt ratio, JR is going to look at the income of the borrowers. That could be spouses or father and son, brother and sister, people that are actually buying the house together. They're going to occupy the property. They're going to be in deed and title. However, for these numbers that we're speaking about now on the slide, I have to operate under the IRS guidelines, the federal government, that says I have to count everybody 18 years and older living in a household with any form of income. Part-time job, Social Security, pension, military pension. So for example, if grandmom lives with you, grandmom's not buying the house, she's not going to be involved in the transaction, but grandmom receives pension, Social Security, disability. We have to count that number, Delaware State, by federal guidelines under the numbers.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions about the household income? Any chat questions on that? No? Delisia, you want to move forward with that?
Yep.
You're doing a great job. Have I told you that?
Oh, why, thank you.
This is just a very quick picture of our rate chart. Do not worry that it's outdated because, it changes every day. When you go on that website that I spoke to you about, Kiss Your Landlord Goodbye, every day you'll see the interest rates. But if you look at the chart, you'll see the very first one shows the lowest rate. Then someone that chooses a 2% assistance on the loan amount, you'll see the additional rate that's charged, and you'll see everything there in a grid. Very simple. It's updated every day. You can go onto the website and see what it is. Once you work with JR, you've picked a program, you decide to move ahead, that's when you lock in the specific program and a specific interest rate. Next. The income we talked about already, everyone that's 18 years and older. Kiss Your Landlord Goodbye, again, that's our website. Credit scores, this comes up often. Couple things to remember. Delaware State Housing Authority has a minimum score of 620. You have to have at least a 620 on all borrowers or greater to access our program. If your score is lower, you still may qualify for a mortgage program through JR. However, you won't be able to access our program unless your score is 620 or greater. There are a couple exceptions. Take note, if you're looking at a double wide manufactured home, it is a minimum 660. And we do tie the debt ratio into your credit score. Please don't try and figure this out or write this down now. Let JR work with you and your specific situation to make sure it fits our program. Trident Mortgage does a lot of business with Delaware State Housing Authority. They've been working with us for a lot of years. They understand our program. They will put you into a scenario that will allow you to buy a home using the money you have available and using our money to make up the difference. Next slide. Oh, I see a couple chat questions. One of them is, how does the unemployment due to COVID-19 impact approval? I'll defer to JR as to whether or not you can use unemployment benefits to qualify for debt ratio, JR.
Yeah, I don't know if he was like talking about gaps, like unemployment gaps, or actually using the unemployment income. You can use unemployment as income, the benefits that you receive. But if you're talking about just being unemployed and, you're concerned about the gap in employment and how it's going to affect you, it won't affect you. It will be, something that we can put in a letter of explanation explaining the gap. And of course, when you're back to being fully employed, we would just use the income from your current employer to qualify.
Good. All right, Delisia, if we can move forward, please. Keep on track with everybody. I did mention that the minimum score is 620. However, if you find that your score is 659 or lower, regardless of the product you use, if you're using Delaware State, you will have to go through homeownership counseling. We have a group of homeownership counseling agencies. These are nonprofit people that will work with you and discuss credit issues, pre-purchase issues. That website link that you see there will bring you through the approved list of counselors. Be careful, not all counseling agencies and programs are approved by Delaware State Housing. If you're uncertain about that, you do want to touch base with JR to make sure they're on the approved list. Next slide, please, Delisia. Right, I've covered a lot. Again, I know there's different slides, levels of income, that type of thing. It is all on the website. It's very important. You'll see there, that's my phone number, my email. My email is probably the best way to reach me. I'm working remotely. I do not always get my voicemails at the office, but the email will always work. And did I see a question? What credit score is considered? We look at the minimum score. We take the 3 and we look at the middle. That's the one we use. JR, yep, you're absolutely. We look at the middle score. Both borrowers must hit that minimum score level. Correct. Yes.
I will tell you, and I'll add this, and I'll kind of sum it up, Bill, and I always like telling people this, there's no better time to buy than now. If you look at interest rates where they are, I mean, there's so many people that are just looking at that and going, they're basically giving you free money. I mean, when you have rates, I think Bill had his rate sheet up there. I mean, their base FHA program is 2.25%, 2.25%. Who would have ever thought, if you would have ever asked me, would interest rates be that low?
I would have
never guessed it would have hit that mark. The Federal Reserve has said that rates are going to be low through 2023. I think until the other half of the economy comes back online, including, hospitality and restaurant, for them to come back or at least move towards the middle. I think they're going to be very accommodative and interest rates are going to stay low, which is going to put pressure on the housing market, which, but rates will change and they will change and they will change when you least expect it. You'll wake up one morning and they will spike because of something that happened, unrelated to the US, at whether it's overseas, and you'll go, I just missed my opportunity. So, get on it. It's a great time to buy. It's very affordable right now in terms of the rate. Yes, prices are up a little bit. You can't have your cake and eat it too. I always tell people that there's no free lunch. But hey, go out there. You'll have a rate that you'll be able to brag to people 10 years from now that you have that rate when rates are 4, 5, 6%. They will. I'm just telling you, nothing stays down forever.
I will add what JR says too very quickly. Not to date myself, but when I started in this business, application with pencil and paper. For those of you that don't know, pencil and paper. Back then rates were nowhere near what they are now. JR is absolutely on the money about that. Rates can offset the fact that the pricing might be a little bit higher than what would be considered customary. Good point. Good point.
I have a question for Bill. Bill, you showed us or talked to us a little bit about the approved list of Delaware State Housing Authority counselors.
Yes.
And we understand that there's a website. So having previously owned a home, you know, I've been through the first-time home buyers program. And so as I was doing research again, I mean, I assumed that I just go back into one of those, the first-time home buyers program, like to gain more information, I guess is what I'm saying.
You can do so if you wish to do so for the educational requirement. Our requirement only comes into play if your score is 659 or lower, that we require you do it.
Understood. Okay.
If it's higher than that and you wish to take the class again for knowledge and understanding, I highly recommend. The counselors have been doing this again for a long time. They understand all the concerns, the pitfalls of home buying, and they will try and point you in the right direction. Yes. Well, Delisia, I think we may be ready to move on. I know Jen has been waiting patiently to get her chance here to speak about her in this process.
I mean, I'm ready.
All right. Well, there looks like there were a couple more questions. So
Sure.
All right.
okay, we can get to those real quick. One of them was, which FICO model should we look at? I don't know if we answered that.
Yeah, so we use the mortgage model. It's actually an older model because a lot of people, you know, pull their credit through, whether that's Credit Karma, you know, it's one of the more newer soft FICO models. We do not use that. So it's a mortgage model. Auto lenders have an auto FICO model. Credit card companies have their own model. You know, you can go out to myfico.com and you can actually pay for the service to actually pull your scores in, and you'll see our mortgage model that we use. So I would highly recommend that if you're building on your credit. John asked a question about what factors should be considered when you choose a lender, since there's a list of lenders.
To me first, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
I'll tell you who's good and who's not.
Yeah.
JR's good.
Thanks. I'll send you, you can send me the bill. But no, I mean, guys, you want to work with someone who is part of the team. You know, you really do, because we all got to be on the same page. There's so many dates, there's so many things that have to fall into place for this to be a successful transaction. You know, it's like when we first started this meeting, we said that, you know, there's 3 of us here. You know, you got Jenna, myself, and you got Delisia. We're all working towards the common goal. So, yeah, I mean, everybody's different. If you think I'd make a good match to work with, give me a call. I'll certainly, hopefully I can meet your expectations. I can tell you I do this every single day, and, you know, I work with first-time home buyers, and I love doing it. And there's nothing better than seeing the smile on someone's face at the end of the transaction, knowing that they got a house.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I would agree. That's the best part of my job. I love that part.
Jay, if I could also add to what JR said too, as far as that approved list, if you go onto our website, you will see that the list is not in alphabetical order. The list is in order of the lenders that do the most volume with Delaware State Housing, and Trident Mortgage is right at the very top of the list.
Important.
JR, make sure you get the check made out with my name correct, all right, for that plug.
I love it. I love Delaware State Housing.
All right, Jenna.
Okay.
We'll move on.
Sure. So I know that you guys have heard so much tonight, and I don't have slides for you that I can easily share that, are quick and easy to understand, because, just like everybody else, I have a lot of information to kind of throw at you, and I'm going to try to keep it like as short and simple and painless as possible. But I will say, like JR and Bill and everybody has said, we have been doing this for a long time. I've done, thousands of settlements, and I can't tell you how many of them have been first-time home buyers. And my favorite thing about being a lawyer is that I get to be the very first person officially to say, congratulations, you're a homeowner. My thing is that, your loan officer and the Delaware State Housing Authority and your realtor, they do all the hard work. They do all that hard work prior to getting to me. And I just get to take all the credit for it, like as a typical transaction. So I just want to say that, I gave you guys my contact information in, the chat. If you guys have any questions you don't necessarily want to answer or ask to like the whole group, just please do not hesitate to contact me privately. That's kind of my job. But a lot of people are kind of saying, like, why is a lawyer here? I know somebody who bought a house, they just used a title company. I wish I could say that that's like a normal thing, but in Delaware, it is not the case. In Delaware, you have to have an attorney conduct your closing. And in my opinion, I think that's a really great thing for the sake of, I like to kind of impart, especially on first-time home buyers, the knowledge of what's actually happening. I'm not the kind of lawyer that's going to give you like the sign here, sign here, sign here. I like to teach. And so I guess the reason why I'm here as a subtitle, why do I need a lawyer? I hate lawyers. I'm the cool kind. I'm the kind of lawyer that's human being description of everything that you're signing, because I find that to be the most important thing throughout the process. Because throughout the process, like, I'll say in closing, you have been inundated with information and you have been docu-signing and signing things electronically with your mortgage company. And there's a point in time where you just stop caring and you stop and you mentally block it all out. And you're like, sign here, docu-sign. I don't care, I'm done. Make a decision. I want you to leave knowing what's going on. So to summarize, quickly, it's a who, what, why, where. Who, it's the buyer's choice of attorney. The buyer always has the ability to choose their own counsel. I will never ever take offense if I see one of you on the listing side as a seller. And hey, I met, you at a Zoom. I will never take offense to that. I'm not the kind of person. What do? I review your sales contract and everything that your name goes on. So as the attorney, my job is to represent you, the buyer. You are my client. I don't get paid until you go to closing, and I can't charge you by the hour. So if you want to call me 4 times a day for 6 weeks, more power to you. I have to answer the phone. I get paid a flat fee on your settlement and all your closing costs. Right? I also order the title search, and I'll talk about that for a minute. I order your survey. I coordinate with your mortgage company and realtor to make sure that everything is balanced in regard to, you're not being overcharged transfer taxes, or you're not being overcharged, your property taxes, or any of the stuff that actually matters to you on the day-to-day of having a mortgage. And so the last part of my job is to prepare the deed documents and the transfer tax affidavits, and then record that deed to make sure that everyone in the world knows that you are the proud owner of your new home. I get involved pretty early in the process, right when your contract is signed. Typically, that's when I receive an agreement of sale from a realtor. I then review all of the disclosure documents that were provided to you from the seller and all those forms that I know that Delisia was mentioning, like the CIS in the very beginning of this conversation, to make sure that it's fair to you, because you are my client. The realtor is not my client. The mortgage company is not my client. Delaware State Housing Authority is not my client. You are. You are the most important person to me and the only person that I care about, to be honest with you. So as I go through my process of opening a file and ordering a title search, I also order a survey, which is kind of just a property outline of your house that you're going to be buying or the land that you're going to be buying. I use that to create my deed. The deed, in my opinion, is the nerdiest thing that I do. It's also, the coolest. But it has to do with like a little history lesson of how the property was acquired by the current seller and how they took title or ownership to the property. I will say that that is part where, the most work on my end gets involved, because the title search has things like, mortgages from the seller and, you know, any judgments against the seller. And, you know, part of my job is to make sure that you, as the new owner of the property, takes clean and clear title to the property, meaning that no other person on earth can infringe upon your right to own your own house or the property, or, you know, even your front yard or your backyard or your connected driveway to your neighbor, or, you know, that tree that overhangs from the neighbor's backyard fence. Like, it's my job to take care of that stuff prior to you officially meeting me for the first time. So, you know, that's kind of, in my opinion, the biggest part of my job. I will also say right now, I notice I'm talking really fast. And if you want me to slow down, please tell me. I just generally talk fast. I've had judges tell me and yell at me in court and be like, Miss Stayton, we get you're excited. Like, we need you to slow down. It's what I do. But, you know, I could talk to you guys about title insurance, and I could talk to you about, you know, the importance of, you know, filling out or answering any questions that I have for a first-time home buyer. But I find that in doing these, the most important thing that people want to hear about is being a first-time home buyer and transfer taxes. And so I want to mention a big thing about how if you are a genuine first-time home buyer in the state of Delaware, certain municipalities, meaning cities or locations or zip codes, will offer the buyer an incentive to buy in that location at the tune of getting a significant discount in your transfer taxes or even a complete exemption. So, for example, if you are buying in, you know, not necessarily say the city of Newcastle or, you know, the surrounding suburbs of Newcastle, you want to buy a house in Newcastle, you know, your sales price is $200,000, you know, you could be exempt from up to, you know, off the top of my head, almost $3,000 right off the bat, right? That's a savings to you because you're a first-time home buyer. And so it's my job to make sure that those transfer taxes are collected effectively and correctly, and that you're being overcharged when I could save you some money on my end for, you know, actually being a first-time home buyer. And on that note, the state of Delaware is very, very strict on who qualifies as a first-time home buyer. Exceptions. But the state of Delaware first-time home buyer applies to people who are actually real first-time home buyers. You know, if you ever inherited property in, say, the Bahamas, which we know would be a terrible problem to have, you are not technically a first-time home buyer. If your parents put you on their deed when, you know, you turned 18 because they wanted to make sure you could take care of their house when, you know, they were no longer living, like, you're not a first-time home buyer. But exceptions to that exist. That, you know, the most common one is if you're purchasing property within the city of limits of the city of Wilmington, you can be, you know, considered to be a first-time home buyer if you've never lived in the city of Wilmington, like the city. So there's a question in the chat about, and I'm going to return to the one that John asked a second ago. What incentive transfer tax for a first-time home buyer is there if the property is in Middletown? I will tell you that the city of Middletown, the city itself, right, the municipality of Middletown, not the suburbs, does not offer a first-time homebuyer exemption based on county transfer taxes. But you do get a discount on your state of Delaware transfer taxes, which is very helpful. It's 0.5 percentage point of the sales price. So, you know, that kind of money does add up, but they don't offer a really specific county exemption in the city of Middletown. Critical points for attorney review should you be considering when financing a purchase contract. I'm a super involved, really annoyingly involved attorney. I review line by line your contracts whenever I see them for the first time. I'll run through, you know, I'm not sure how everyone is familiar or not familiar with the actual agreement of sale itself. If you want to, like, me to send you one, I'm more than willing to shoot me your email. But I run through and check my bullet points. I know Delisia mentioned earlier, keeping everything on track in regard to, you know, inspections or mortgage commitment dates and the timeline bullet points that have to be met to get to close. I'm involved in that too, because I like to keep track of it. If I know that a realtor has an inspection, you know, coming up and, you know, I haven't heard anything about it, I will shoot an email out or ask. But critical points of my review process is I make sure that what the buyer is asking for and what the seller has agreed to is not unreasonable. I will also review the disclosure provided, required to be provided by the seller to the buyer for, big ticket items that I can see, that I see like just in my practice as an issue. Like if I, pull up a seller's disclosure and the seller is disclosing something about, oh, there was like flooding in this basement, and, it's kind of vague as to how they word it, I will shoot the realtor a question and ask about it. But, my kind of question and what my thought process is, I'm going to try to avoid any problem that can cause me or you a problem later. So I kind of like to be the proactive person that kind of wants to kind of iron out all the bumps before we even approach the bump. If that answers your question, John, let me know if it doesn't. But, for the most part, my job is to kind of gather all the information, put together the information needed to go to the state of Delaware and the county to record the deed package and kind of run through closing with you. Closing takes about an hour. If, there's a lot of questions and, I feel as though, I need to spend some more time on it, but for the most part, closing should take half hour, 45 minutes. Obviously a cash deal is going to be, in the 10-minute range, which is few and far between, if you believe it. But I kind of run through all the closing documents, and, the last kind of point that I'll have before, I ask if anyone has any other questions is, in my opinion, having an attorney at your closing is the best thing that could happen for the sake of, I know this process inside and out, and I know that Bill does, and I know that Delisia does, and I know that JR does, but I was a first-time home buyer too. And to be honest with you, going through it from your side, it is totally life-changing, and you're so overwhelmed. You really want someone to be able to explain to you the legality of what you're doing. Like you're literally signing a 30-year contract. And, having someone on your team that's going to be able to explain to you line by line what you're signing is so important. And, I'll, as an aside, JR did my mortgage and trusted him to do it. And my very best friend in the entire world is this different loan officer, works for a different company. And I trusted JR to do it. And, I think that says something, but, it also says that, the people that you have in your corner make all the difference. And if I can spend the time with you and explain and teach you something about how escrow accounts work, or, why you're paying mortgage insurance, because, that's very important question, and why you need to sign these agreements and these affidavits, like, I'm more than honored to do it. So, that's kind of, I feel like I've been rambling a lot, but, that's my job is the best in the whole world. They do all the hard work. I kind of scoop it all up in the middle and kind of take all the credit for it and be the first one to say, congratulations, here are your keys. So I love my job. I did do criminal law, and I realized that it was not for me, but, I'm open to any questions you guys have. And I know that you guys have been here for a long time powering through this stuff, and it is not easy. So if you have any questions, I know let me know.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, my question is there any type of assistance for the transfer tax for Kent County?
So the transfer tax incentive, or exemption applies to the entire state. There are very specific places in which, that exemption is not allowable. For example, the city of Middletown, the incorporated city of Middletown. There are parts of Smyrna that are not, able to get tax exemptions. In Kent County, I know there's, the city of Dover doesn't necessarily have transfer tax exemptions, but, the city of Dover is a really small place. Dover is much bigger than that. So it depends on your location. So yes, the entire state of Delaware does offer exemptions for transfer taxes. And if you're in one of those county specific places, even if you can't get the county exemption on your transfer tax, the state of Delaware discount on your transfer tax, which does add up. And so, if you guys didn't know, state of Delaware's transfer tax is literally 4% of your sales price. And, that seems like a lot, because it is. And
yes, it is.
Yeah, it is a lot. And I will tell you that there was, that change happened within the past 2.5 years, and it was a huge to-do, right? Real estate attorneys were up in arms, realtors were up in arms about it. The state of Delaware kind of decided they kind of wanted to pull in a little bit more income, and if you believe it, this is my theory as to why real estate remains an essential business, because the state of Delaware wanted to keep collecting transfer taxes. But that 4% transfer tax is primarily split between the buyer and the seller. So the buyer and the seller are both paying 2% of the sales price in a regular non-first-time homebuyer transaction. But let's say you're buying in Newark, and you're a first-time homebuyer buying in Hartley or wherever. Your first-time homebuyer exemption will discount your entire Newcastle County transfer tax, and then up to 0.5 percentage point of your state of Delaware transfer tax. So 9 times out of 10, you're seeing that 2% transfer tax being shrunk down to less than or 0.75%. So that does add up. People save thousands of dollars for doing it. So there are spots in every county which are, that's not applicable, but 9 times out of 10, you get your first-time home buyer for the county and your discount in the state of Delaware in all counties. If that is your question.
Jenna, if I could add to that, so please, for whatever taxes may be due as a first-time home buyer, the money from the state of Delaware, our down payment assistance, can help pay those as part of the reasonable and customary closing costs.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's amazing. Like Bill talked at length about how great. There's no better. Like honestly, as a real estate attorney, there is no better program out there than the stuff that the Delaware State Housing Authority offers you. I'm sitting in closing thinking about like how great it is for these people who are going to get that tax credit up to $2,000 literally free every single year. It's free money. And, it really does. Like I've seen buyers, literally not understand the process through, other lenders, not JR, trust me on that. But like they'll and they're wondering why, well, this mortgage company said that I'm borrowing this amount of money from the Delaware State Housing Authority. Can you tell me why? And they don't understand how good of a program it is. And so like, when you get to tell somebody that, so yes, Bill, like that is a fee that can be kind of drastically reduced on your closing costs because of the Delaware State Housing Authority. So good one. Does anyone else have any questions? I know I talked for a while. I said just how I go.
Yes, I would like to know if I'm working with I'm buying a new home in Delaware. I just recently retired. I'm living in Virginia and relocating to Kent County, Delaware.
Yay!
So what I would like to know, thank you. Do I need to let the mortgage loan officer know that I would like to be a part of that program where I can get that $2,000 back a year?
I would. Ooh.
Okay. All right. So
question though, Bill, how do you?
You do have to make sure that the mortgage company that you're using for the purchase of the new home is on our list of mortgage lenders. That same website.
They are. Yes, they are. Okay.
Oh yeah, then 100%.
Okay, so I need to ask. Okay, so in other words, I'm going to pay $350 for the initial application to get involved in that program. And then each year, up until the life of the loan, I will get $2,000 a year back?
Up to $2,000.
Let me fix
The maximum.
Well, but how many years will I be getting that money back?
As long as you continue to live in property as your primary.
Okay. All right.
But Bill, if we're not using, if the lender that she's working with is not using one of your products and looking just to use that tax credit, then you're going to have a 1% fee of the loan amount. It's going to get
Okay, so 1% fee of the loan amount.
If they're not using the DSHA's product along with the tax credit.
Correct. That's called standalone tax credit.
Excuse me?
It's
Say that again, please.
Yeah, it's called a standalone tax credit.
Okay, so that's what I need to tell the mortgage director.
Right. If they're not using our program for the purchase, they can still use the tax credit, but there will be an additional 1% of the loan amount as a standalone fee if you're not using our program. If you are, that is waived, and you only owe the one-time $350.
Okay, well, this particular mortgage company said that they could match your interest rate, because I asked them about that because I wanted to be in the program. So they said that if I was only interested in it because of maybe borrowing money for a down payment, which I'm not, but being that I'm not going to borrow any money for a down payment, they said that they would just match the interest rate and give me whatever the Delaware state interest rate would be.
And would they also offer you the tax credit in addition to that?
Well, the builder is going to give me the tax credit. Yes, he's going to pay half of it for the transfer tax.
Yeah.
Okay, let's make sure we keep the transfer tax separate. Transfer tax is county and state specific. The tax credit is a federal credit, totally separate. So be careful that the loan officer and the mortgage company understands your desire.
Got it. I know, I can't hear, it's the internet, but I will contact you.
Yep.
Okay, did you hear me?
Email, yes, it's bill@destatehousing.com.
Yes, I wrote it down. Okay, I have it. Thank you.
Any questions on that? Or if the loan officer is uncertain at the builder's company,
Okay,
that officer is welcome to email me to understand that program, yes.
okay, thank you so much.
You are welcome, Lois, you are welcome.
Okay, so we're coming up on 8 o'clock. So we've been here quite a while. I think we said, this will just be 45 minutes to an hour long. But there have been some great questions. I hope that everyone has gotten some good information that they can use. So I'll just say one last, are there any last questions before we go away and before I cut us off? Not just cut us off, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly, I've done a bunch of these. These are some of the best questions I've ever heard.
Yeah,
Yes, they are.
Yeah, there were some excellent questions. So one of the things I do want to let you know, if there's anything in the chat that you want to, go back and look at, there is a way that you can save the chat to your computer. So if you want to do that, I'll give you a second to do that. And the way you would do that is at the bottom, it says file, and there are 3 little dots. And then if you click the dots and click save chat, then it'll save to your computer. So just so if there's any information in there that you want to keep and have access to. Okay.
I'd just like to say thank you. This was very informative and I learned a lot.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Okay.
And I will, so as I do, I was in corporate America for 20 years. And one of the things I did do lead trainings and things like that. And we always had a survey. So because this is my first one, I will be sending you guys a survey just to get some feedback so that as I continue to do this and, have other people participate, that they'll just get better and better. So if you would take a moment, it will be like 5 questions. It won't be anything very long. Just take a moment and complete that, and that would be very helpful for me. So, so thank you guys so much for joining us. And yeah, this was great. I'm excited. Of course, if there are any additional questions, I think you have our contact information. If not, actually, I'm trying to put mine on the screen right now because I know that's selfish. I'm sorry, but
We get it.
Yeah, come on, you put this.
I just have one more question. It should be quick.
sure, Chanel.
A big shout out. Your first one.
How long is an approval good for? Like, what if
Oh, good question.
looking within the year, should you start with your approval now, or should you wait until you're definitely ready?
Yeah, a pre-approval typically lasts for about 90 days.
Okay.
So I would wait. What I would do in the meantime is get a copy of your credit report from any 3 of the credit bureaus to make sure everything is reporting accurately. That way, when we get a little closer and we're ready to actually do the hard pull, we know we have all of our ducks in a line.
Okay. And what's your opinion? I know I've asked several people this, but what's your opinion on Credit Karma?
I mean, I think it gives you an indication of where your scores are.
Not the real score.
I don't think
Okay.
it's not going to give you a hard number. Like I said, you can go out to myfico.com, pay $12 a month, maybe for a month or two, just so you can get the actual scores, and it won't impact you negatively.
Are the programs, like, I know I have a program with my credit card and then also my car loan company. Are those programs any more accurate?
They're considered soft FICO scores, and they're
Okay.
part of the Advantage score. And again, it's going to give you an indication, but they also exclude certain things that I'm going to see when I pull credit.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So if there are no more questions, again, I want to just thank you guys for joining and hanging in with us for a whole hour and a half. And again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. You should have my my email address, my phone number, all of that's on the screen there. And I'll be more than happy to work with you guys and work for you.
Hi, I have one more question. Sorry, my name is Zita. I came in a little late. With this first-time homebuyer program, that this seminar, do I have to attend all the seminars as well, or is this the only one?
No. So this is just an informational webinar. So there's no this doesn't give you credit really for anything. It's just basically for information.
Okay. So in order to get into the program, is there another webinar that I need to attend, or just follow the steps?
Only if credit score is 659 or lower, then you have to attend housing counseling by a nonprofit counselor. But if your score is greater than 659, then you only attend if you wish to do so. It's not mandatory. It's not required.
Okay. My score is above that, and I'm trying to get to the 700s.
Okay.
I'm almost there, a few points away from it. So, because from what I was told, like, if it's the higher it is, the better your chances. So I don't know if that will work to my advantage or not.
With our program for the down payment assistance, your score can be as low as 620. So if you're 650, 680, 700, 720, you'll still get the same program that we have.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, I will get in. I'm a little late. I'm going to look in the chart. Joseph, is your information in the chart?
It is. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I did save the chart, and you will be hearing from us, I guess, tomorrow.
Awesome.
And now also for the attorney, is there a fee included in or is it part of the closing cost? I didn't get that part.
So for my fees, everything's included in your closing costs. And, if anyone has any questions about that, I will tell you that every attorney in the state of Delaware, we have to kind of stay on the same page for the sake of, if one of us lowers our fee, or someone raises their fees, everybody knows about it. And then that lawyer suddenly, has no business. My attorney fee is $445, and that gets charged at closing, and it does not change. like I think I said before, like you call me 6 times a day for 6 weeks and I can only charge you $445. There are people that I talk to, 3 times a week, and there's people that I meet for the first time at closing because, they're just really responsive to emails and they've been through the process before. But, attorney fees are charged at closing. They cannot change. We cannot increase our fees without lots of notice to you. For the sake of what matters is that, attorneys do kind of understand that, we can't overcharge people. I will also say, as an aside, that Newcastle County and Kent County charge pretty much the same thing, but if you go into Sussex County, that attorney fee is drastically higher than,
Very much. Yeah.
fees. I couldn't tell you. That's just what happens.
Wow.
It's honestly really funny. So, keep that in mind too. If you're buying in Sussex,
Okay.
it'd be more than.
Well, I learned a lot. This webinar was very informative, and I'm so glad I got in. And I think I'm really, really looking forward to having an attorney with our closing. I heard that it's very important that you do, and you really gave us the confirmation, and I appreciate it very greatly.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice.
Yes, yes.
Good. Good.
I mean, your presence speaks a volume. I mean, I've heard it in the past. I remember there was this one time we met an attorney friend, and he said, if anything and whenever you guys buying a property, always have an attorney present.
Yes.
With all the things, I did not realize that you guys covered so many bases. And
I'm gonna cry. and I have I sold my soul away to the Delaware State Bar Association.
You were on point, and I'm like, wow, it's good to know all those things. And I mean, we lived in Florida for almost 12 years. So, and Florida with real estate, it could be pretty messy. So just knowing how much and what you guys do is great. Thank you again.
No, it is our honor to help you guys. Like it is the best thing about our jobs. So that means
that is true.
I can speak for everybody that's here, but it is an honor to deal with people all the time and give them their houses and help them get into houses.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, thank you. And the last thing is always, we all do work by referral. So, if you know anyone else who is looking to purchase a home or sell a home, either will be very happy to work with you and work with your friends and family as well. So please spread the word and let us know if we can do anything for you or any of your friends and family. All right.
Great job, Delisia. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for helping me out.
Thanks for having us, Delisia.
Thank you.
Right. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.